Hello everybody, Calamity here, and there's a brand new 4-star weapon called the Flame Forged Insight that we can all grab for free during the current event. Let's go ahead and talk about it. Let's talk about how to get the weapon, what it does, and what characters can best utilize it. So head on over to the event page, and you should see this huge banner. If you don't, that's because you're not AR 18 and you haven't completed the Archon quest, Song of Dragon and Freedom. It also says to complete the Archon quest, Incandescent Ode of Resurrection, get the best experience. So if you're behind on your story stuff, get to it. And if you're still new to the game, get to grinding that AR as well. So you have a lot of work cut out for you, but you have plenty of time, so don't freak out. You have 18 days at the time of recording. Anywho, for those that do see this event, if you come on down to the painted summer gift button here with Bennett giving you a thumbs up, you'll see this menu. Make sure you click the weapon button right here, and there it is. You have the Flame Forged Insight. At the time of recording, the event isn't even 24 hours old yet, so we can't even get the rest of the these refinement materials right here. So I can only have the weapon at refinement 1, but yeah, you get all of your weapon stuff here. Now, what does the Flame Forged Insight even do? Well, let's take a look. First of all, it's a claymore that gives you elemental mastery as a substat, so that should already narrow down quite a bit of claymore characters. Let's take a look at the weapon effect called Mind in Bloom. And it says when electrocharged, lunar charged, or bloom is triggered, restore 12 elemental energy and increase elemental mastery by 60 for 15 seconds. This effect can be triggered once every 15 seconds and can be triggered even when the equipping character is off field. Very, very good weapon. However, very, very niche, because you gotta trigger basically electrocharged or bloom. For those that don't know, lunar charged is basically a stronger version of lunar charged, and the only character that can do lunar charged currently is Inefa, the new 5-star in this update. So again, this is also at refinement 1. So when we get all of the materials at refinement 5, this is probably going to be about 24 elemental energy, and this will be about 120 elemental mastery. So that's very, very good. Again, very, very niche, but if you fill in that niche, this is a very solid weapon for many characters. Oh, I shouldn't say many characters, but the characters that fit the niche. But which characters would that be? Let's go take a look. All right, so here is the list of all the claymore characters in the game, and we're gonna go over each one and talk about if it would be a good fit or not, because well, you know, you need to make sure you're able to do the reaction in order to get the weapon's effect. Otherwise, it's just a stat stick of elemental mastery, and that's not going to be really good. So first of all, Malvika. She can't do any of the reactions listed, unfortunately. And yeah, and energy, she doesn't use it because she has fighting spirit, which is different than elemental energy. So this wouldn't be a good weapon for Malvika, unfortunately. Kinich? No, because you don't really do bloom with Kinich. I mean, you could do, I gotta go to his details and profile page because that idle animation is annoying. But unless you're doing Burgeon teams with Kinich, which not a lot of people do. But yeah, not a lot of people do Burgeon teams, and it's not that great. Most people do Burning teams with him, and it's not really gonna be a good fit. He doesn't really need the elemental energy anyways. A lot of his damage comes from his elemental skill. So Gaming, again, just like Malvika, doesn't do any of the reactions, so you won't be able to get a lot of help here. The elemental mastery is kind of nice though. It's just you can't get much value from the weapon. Navia, unfortunately, doesn't really need the energy or elemental mastery, so not a good fit for her. Fremine, physical damage dealer, and he can't do any of the reactions listed, so not a good fit. However, we have our first good character for this weapon. It's gonna be Kava. He can do those booms. Remember that the effect of this weapon triggers even when he's off field. So he can still get the benefits of the weapon that way. Good energy, good elemental mastery, and should help out with his bloom damage. So good weapon for all 10 of you Kava users out there. Ia, just like Gaming or Malvika, is Pyro, so not gonna be helpful here. Unless you're doing a Burgeon team with her, which is, you know, that's an option some Dia players go for. You would just need to pop her elemental skill to pop Burgeon. You don't really need the energy for the burst, so that's kind of wasted on her. But it is, again, just good elemental mastery. Dory, if you're doing Hyper Bloom with Dory, this can be okay. And she can in turn give your team their burst back because of her. Because of her getting her burst back, her team gets her burst back even faster. So it can be okay here if you're doing Hyper Bloom. Aratagi Ito, just like Navia, is Geo. Not going to be helpful here. Sayu, though, really good weapon for Sayu. Elemental Mastery is just more healing. And obviously the energy is just going to mean she gets to use her burst more often, which means just more healing, more animo application, more swirling. It's all good. Very little complaints for Sayu on this one. This is a really good weapon for her. Very good weapon. Eula, just like Femine, physical damage healer, not gonna help in any way. Jinyan, only if you're doing Inversion. Other than that, nope. Diluc, same thing, only if you're using Inversion, which most of us do not, so not gonna be helpful there. Chongyun, I believe they used him to drip market this weapon. He's a bad choice for it. He can't proc any of the reactions needed for this weapon's effect. Otherwise, it's just a good look for him, I guess. And the Elemental Mastery is only going to help him in a freeze team. Or, excuse me, not a freeze team. A melt team for him. So, unless you're using him in a melt team, I guess, it's not going to be that useful. Noelle, just like Aratagi Ito and Navia, not going to be good for her, unfortunately. Beto, you can consider giving this to her for sure. She is actually primarily used in electrocharge teams or overloaded, but if you are using an electrocharged, it will definitely boost that damage quite a bit. Or the lunar charge, of course. Or even Hyper Bloom. But she's not really using Hyper Bloom. And she can, again, she can trigger the effect off field. So she'll be able to have her burst more consistently. It's really good. And Razor almost fell into the same category as Eula or Fremine, where he is a physical damage dealer. However, you can use him in an electrocharge team, or even the Hyper Bloom Virgin team with Bennett, if you will. So if you're doing anything that isn't a physical damage type deal for Razor, this is actually a good weapon for him and something to consider. So just to reiterate, the 3 characters that I think are the best for this weapon are Kava, Sayu, and Razor, and maybe Beto if you want to include a 4th character. So those would be my 4 picks. Let me know if there's another character that you think I'm understating here or undervaluing is the word I should be using. The weapon on. I'd love to hear it. And with that being said, that's going to do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff, and I'll see you on the next video.